Welcome to the ULI Podcast series, recorded live at the Sea Change Summit in Barcelona, where we speak with our members, leaders at the forefront of decarbonisation and sustainability. In each episode, we dive into innovative solutions, explore challenges, and share insights that are shaping the future of our cities, industries, and communities. Join us as Mariya Tsvetkova from Urban Partners offers a fresh perspective on decarbonisation, showing that it goes far beyond individual assets. With ambitious goals set for 2028, she highlights flagship projects like the largest building with the lowest embodied carbon, setting new standards for the industry. Mariya emphasises the need to link financial performance with sustainability, even as valuations often lag behind the transition. She shares how Urban Partners pioneered an internal carbon tax to lead by example, and discusses the challenges of aligning developers, investors, and local authorities with different long-term goals. For Mariya, standardization and a unified framework are key to driving meaningful change across global markets.
I'm here with Mariya Tsvetkova, who is works in investor relations for Urban Partners. Could you tell me a little bit about what you do with Urban Partners?
Absolutely. We are a pleasure to be here on this beautiful day. We are a platform of vision-aligned investment verticals, we call them, across the private markets, very much focused on real estate and real estate private equity. We're one of the four runners in sustainability in the real estate space with NREP. I think most people know us with the NREP brand. We also have other verticals, and as part of the investor relations team, naturally, I work across the different asset classes. So we think the challenge is bigger than individual assets. It's at urban scale, and you need different capital solutions for that. So we have also a climate tech venture capital fund called 2150, and we also provide green financing solutions in the credit space as well in the real assets. So just to start a little bit maybe with NREP, we were one of the early companies that committed to a very ambitious net zero target of 2028, which includes both embodied and operational carbon. So we've now made some progress, which I'm very happy to share. Some of our, I guess, flagship projects, we call them Earthshot projects, where we really invest in R&D to make sure that they can push the agenda even further. So we're now working on a residential building in Denmark, which will have the lowest embodied carbon footprint of 5 kilos per square meter of embodied carbon, and we've also been able to now assess during 2023 all of our developments, which have an average of 6.6, which is well below the current SBTi targets, which we actually helped to shape. Yeah. So there was recently a release of a new module with SBTi that's specifically dedicated to buildings, and in addition to that, it has a very, very low energy intensity, and that's the metric that we really follow, is energy intensity of 20 kilowatts per square meter, kilowatt hours per square meter. So that's, again, very much below where industry standards are, and we very much pride those Earthshot projects for what we're able to do. It's done out of wood and construction, and we also try to implement, we call them energy machines in a lot of our buildings, where you use some energy. Sounds very geeky. It's essentially using ground source heat pumps and combining that with batteries and renewables on site. So that allows you to provide quite an efficient energy solution. On top of that, I think we've been able to achieve from our 2020 baseline of about 45% reduction of our operational carbon. I think a huge part of that is indeed moving to electrified buildings and renewables. But also, I guess we're quite lucky with our geographies being in the Nordics, where the whole grid has decarbonized quite significantly over the last few years.
I mean, do you think that, how do you think the industry as a whole is doing in terms of decarbonisation? It sounds like you're doing some great work. I mean, when you look across the industry, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, we spend the morning talking about the issues of the industry and the frustrations everybody has. And I think we have here a lot of thought leaders. So that's why there is a lot of frustration, because we ourselves are doing a lot with our own portfolios. But the industry is not moving fast enough. And I think some of the challenges, of course, are related to the broader macroeconomic cycle that we've all faced now over the last couple of years. There have been a lot of fires that people are fighting in their own portfolios. So kind of sustainability took a second priority in a way, unfortunately, but that's what happens. So unfortunately, we need to be able to link financial performance to sustainability. We definitely believe and have proven, because we have quite a good track record ourselves. So we're having an easier time explaining to investors that actually investing in sustainability is making also your financial investment better. But as a whole, as an industry, and what we've been talking all morning, is valuations haven't moved and haven't reflected the risk of not transitioning.
Anything.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that a more standardized approach to carbon pricing would help that, for example, as one measure?
Absolutely, and that's something that I forgot to mention. We ourselves pioneered that a couple of years ago, where we started underwriting our own self-imposed carbon tax of 90 euros per ton. And that has been a very effective way to really get all internal stakeholders to the table and having to think about that, and even just knowing what your carbon footprint is, both operational and embodied, at underwriting, where you need to underwrite how much you will have in the assets, both upfront with embodied carbon, but also throughout the length of the investment.
You mentioned decarbonisation needs to go beyond specific assets to wider neighbourhoods. I mean, what do you think needs to happen for that to start to happen, I suppose? How can we get there?
Yeah, that's the very difficult question, and that's something that we're trying to look into. We've done quite a lot of work in our home markets, in sort of, we call them zip code level development, so larger scale urban regeneration schemes, where we've worked a lot with local authorities. The railway district in Copenhagen, for example, is one which is also part of the C40 Thriving Cities a pilot. It's one of the pilots in that program. So it requires a lot of different stakeholders and a very long-term view that's very challenging to structure from a capital standpoint and from an alignment of the different stakeholders. And again, one thing that we were discussing is, interestingly now, you have obviously the three key stakeholders, I'd say, is the developer who's developing those large-scale developments, the local authorities, and sort of the public sector, and then the investors. And funny enough, actually, I think the investors are the ones with the long-term view, because they're the ones that need to cater for their, for example, pensioners for the next 40 plus years, whilst the political term is limited and very short, and the developers also have generally a profit expectation. So we're working a lot, learning from our historical experience in those projects and seeing whether we can do something to structure or create some sort of a new capital structure that can invest in this kind of project.
Do you think that we need more alignment between public and private sector goals, or do you think it's just a matter of time?
It's definitely, I think we're all aligned in terms of what our goals are. I think people just speak different language because it is quite a lot of complexity involved with it, and that's why I think you need to have somebody to kind of bring the different stakeholders to the table and have come up with the same language and same goals, to your point, because I think they are the same. It's just the way we present them and talk about them is very different
on a global level,
especially on a global level. And the bigger you go, the more complex things become, and it's very easy to just become mudded into a lot of acronyms and letters that nobody understands and can translate to something practical and actionable.
I mean, do you think that's the value of an event like this, the Sea Change Summit, to bring people together to try and create more of a unified approach?
Absolutely, and that's what we also try. I mean, we're obviously partners with Sea Change, and ULI is one of the key organizations that we've been involved with and are partnering at not only local level, but also at a more global level with Sea Change. And we're trying to do that also with various different stakeholders. For example, we created a group called Leaders of the Urban Future, which again has been aligned with ULI, which targets a bit more the asset manager and institutional investors that hold some of those assets again to create that. And I think ULI is doing a fantastic work with the carbon pricing that they just released, working with other industry organizations like INREV and RICS to really come up with, for example, on the carbon pricing, how do we approach that? Because not everybody is going to have, let's say, the boldness to do something on their own accord. And so I think we do need the industry to kind of come together to terms as what's at least the average or the standard, so that we can push everybody in the right direction.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mariya. It's lovely to speak to you.
Lovely to speak to you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us in this insightful conversation. It's clear that tackling decarbonisation and driving sustainable change requires collaboration, innovation, and a unified vision. Together we can learn from diverse perspectives, share best practices, and take actionable steps towards a more resilient and sustainable future. Stay tuned for more episodes as we continue to explore how leaders across the industry are shaping the path forward.